welcome to my kitchen. This is the hank of wool. You know, I've never actually opened one of these, so I'm scared. Okay, we have a little bit of tension. Alright, what have I got? Okay, so this is the hank of wool. Let me show you. So put it across the front there. Let's swing this around. I'm going to bring it back just a smidge. So this is the hank of wool. I have the knotted piece here to keep it from getting too messy. There is a couple of, oh there we go, right, that's the tension out of it. Okay, so there was a bit that was in the wrong place. So this is going to soak for 20 odd minutes according to Rebecca in Chem Knit's tutorial that I watched a couple of days ago. So this is just going into warm water. I hope that was correct. It's got to soak. It's got to take 20 odd minutes to get really, really wet. I'm just going to let this sit. I'm just pushing it down just to get some of the air out of it. And it's looking a little bit more like soggy noodles now. Now, when I unboxed this and then I watched the video to find out how to fasten the colour in this, I was devastated to learn that you needed a microwave, because our microwave got retired a number of years ago and is down in the garage. So I went downstairs, I looked at where the thing was, and I called in the husband to give me a hand to move it so that I could plug it in, and he goes, no, if anything was to happen where the microwave was, we'd be in a world of hurt, not be able to get to it, and we'd lose our home and everything in it. Of course, my husband is always fucking right. So, the microwave got shelved. And I thought, what am I going to do? I sent Rebecca a message on the video and I said, what do we do if we don't have a microwave? Because you have to heat fasten the setting of the colour. And she suggested steaming. Well, just over here on the back wall, which I will move into focus when I'm going to film. No, actually, well, I might just show you. Anyway. We have a steamer, so I will steam this. So this is going to sit for 20 minutes. I will set a timer. It's going to steam for 20 minutes. It's going to colour fasten with the first colour set, and then I will do a second set, which then gets boiled. I think my pot is outside. Actually, no, I've got an old pot that I can use. So let me tell you what I have here. This is nothing fancy. This is a meat tray. This is a tray that had, I don't know, a dozen chops or something in it. Just a large meat tray. You can see that the wool is filling it quite nicely. It's soaking. It's starting to relax in the water. Timer is going to go on for 20 minutes and I will come back to you when that is done for some magic. And we'll see how we go with that. Doing some sound overdubbing just because the sound was all kinds of wonky. I will try and keep pace with what I'm doing. I've got the wet hank there. It's been sitting there for 20 minutes. I have the KoolAid open and you can see it just in the lower right corner. I'm using cling wrap. It's also known as cling film, Xyron wrap. It's just a clear plastic wrap that sticks to itself pretty much. I have the orange KoolAid in there, and the idea that Rebecca had was that you use one hand wet and one hand dry, the gloved hand being dry because you're putting dye onto it. So just showing the glove and the dry hand, or the wet hand, the one that's going to be moving the wool around. So you get a pinch of the KoolAid and just sprinkle it pretty much. Sprinkle it in different sections and you can see how the wet wool is already making the KoolAid pop. You can see those colour pops there as it's scattering on. I'm just scattering it around the ring. I have just got it in that U shape just for ease of being able to scatter it on, if not for any other particular reason, space wise. I'm trying to get it all on camera, I suppose.
So that's most of the orange put on in the initial, and what I will actually do now is give it a bit of a move around so that we can scatter some through to the lower edges. So I'm going to move it aside. It's like working with spaghetti, this stuff. It's kind of fun. You should give it a go. So you can see how much of it hasn't got through to the other side. So I'm trying to just even it out, getting it right through. I could have opened it up a bit more. They did originally come with 2 zip ties. I didn't put zip ties on, and I do regret doing this one without the zip ties because I can't see where that tie is that keeps the hanks together quite so easily. It attracts the dye because it's part of the wool. So scattering on a bit more of the orange, just some of the underneath. You can see how some of the bits of it are quite deeply concentrated. And now I'm just going into the colour that's within the KoolAid packet. So it's got citric acid in it, which is apparently attracted to the wool. This is a chemical process that Rebecca talks about in the ChemKnits tutorial website. She's all kinds of scientific with her basis for using it this way. And it's 40 red and 10 blue or something, or 40 red and 10 yellow, depending on the colours, and that was just based on me having cherry and orange. I haven't seen what the other colours involve. This is unsweetened KoolAid, by the way, so it's less sticky apparently than having a sugar-based KoolAid. So what I will do now is stretch it out into a very long, narrow package. I'm just looking at all the wool there just to be happy with the speckling. But I will, and I think, oh, I'm putting some more on just because I can. I hate it when you lose the spontaneity of an original recording. I'm sorry. Alright, so all that dry powder that's left, the dry KoolAid, that's actually going to get tipped back into the KoolAid container, bag. And I actually vacuum pack it. We have a vacuum sealer. So I'll put it into a bag and seal it up, even though I go and use it again the next day. So should be getting ready now to pack it up. Yep, here we go. So put it into a long line and then start folding up the cling wrap. And again, it's the beauty of the cling wrap is that it sticks to itself. So patting it down, just getting a lot of the air out and rolling it in. And now I'm going to roll it into a sausage. Now I did have an issue with the method of heat. Rebecca encourages microwave to be used for this next process. I don't have a microwave that's accessible. It's buried down in the garage because we haven't microwaved food in years. And when I asked her in a comment, she came back to me almost immediately saying, you just use a microwave. Or sorry, not a microwave, just use a steamer. Now we have got a steamer. So there is our steamer. And I will actually take it out of field and not record the steaming process because that's like paint drying. But I'll pop it into the basket. It's as simple as that. And 20 minutes later, it'll be cooked for its first stage. The glove, I'm just demonstrating how to get a glove off without actually contaminating everything. You pull it off, you keep your fingers in it, and then you have contained a lot of the mess. It works with both. This is the pot then for the second stage. So I'm starting to get the pot ready. I don't actually use this pot. I use another one, but I get a 1 ml scoop. I think Rebecca uses a pinch measure. I don't know. Can't remember what that is, but anyway, the link is going to be in the video. I use a 1 ml spoon. This is cherry that's going into the water. I just top it up with the water from the tap and we'll be putting it onto the stove when the steamed package is ready. So I'm just going to let that sit. It just is to show. It's just going into a normal food pot. It's food grade dye. You might not want to use a pot that you regularly want to eat out of, but these pots were meant to be retired. I ended up using a different retired pot instead in the end. But this clip will change to me unbagging the steamed and cooled wool. So that's what you get out of the steamer, and basically it's just going to kind of pop in, but you actually need to unwrap it as well. So it's still hot, I think, coming out of the steamer, and then I realised that I had to let it cool. So I've unwrapped it, and not on Rebecca's recommendation. She actually recommends that you let it cool itself down to room temperature or cold, and it uses that cooling down time also as time to set. So I'm unwrapping it as it's cooled. So yeah, I had thrown it into the fridge to cool it. So I'm just going to unwrap it. And then going to put water in a pot, and I think I'll show you that in just a second. Alright, so this is it after it's been dyed, because who needs to see wool sit in a pot. This has been in the cherry, so it doesn't really matter, I don't think, how much water you put in. It's the amount of dye that you put in. What Rebecca explains is that the citric acid in the wool is attracted, and the colour is then attracted into the wool, so you can actually just dunk it in, remove it, and it pulls the dye out of the water and you end up with clear water. This is actually the next day. I'm trying the second hank of wool that I received. There was 2 hanks of wool that were in the package. This one I'm trying now with cherry first, and again same method with the scattering, and you can see that I've got the zip ties very loosely around the wool. These are the 2 that came with the wool, and I've left plenty of space for the wool to be able to expand into. So that's wet wool, it's been soaking for 20 minutes, and I scatter the red on. Now on this one I wanted to see if RIT powder would work. I've used RIT powder before with my Ada, and on this occasion I wanted to see if it would work. I did some research and it said that RIT powder would also fasten in hot, so it hopefully wasn't going to bleed. So this is a little bit of a trial and error for me. I really didn't know what I was doing. So I'm about to get the purple powder, cut that open and put it into the container, and you know, sprinkle it on and all of that kind of jazz. There you go. There's the purple RIT. It's just a packet of powder, and I have used hardly anything of this to do the sprinkles, and you will see in the end the effect that that bit of sprinkling has done. It's a much more defined sprinkle with the RIT powder than it is for the KoolAid, and RIT is certainly a damn sight more expensive than using KoolAid. So if you can get your hands on unsweetened KoolAid for a project like this, then absolutely do it. I was absolutely delighted with the results. What I do with this colour then is I soak the wool into half the quantity of the colour that I used for the cherry soak, and I just use 1/2 ml in the pot of water, but it's the orange, so it doesn't give as rich a colour in the end. So that's me scattering on the purple. You don't see the instant kind of effect on this, but you will by the time I wrap it up and put it into the steam basket. Just loosening it up a bit so that I can get it through as much as possible. You will get a sound clip come back when I go back into the kitchen and my sound is behaving itself, and then I'll come back to you with this sound over or dubbing shortly. So again, getting ready, pulling it out, and again, look, you can't see how strong that purple is, but it's surprising what it's doing in that rollover. It just seems to take a little bit longer to be quite as obvious. Alright, into the sausage again. You can see how the red is coming through, and you might get a glimpse of a little bit of purple. You see a tiny bit of purple. So that's the cherry KoolAid that I'm using. Just showing that, and that's the vacuum bag that we make up. Steamer basket, sausage in, and that's it. See you in a minute.
Alright, welcome back. Now, I'm not sure how much of this you can see. You can see some dark speckles. I tell you what, the dyeing process is really, really exciting for me. I think I will put gloves on because this is including RIT dye this time around. And that is probably a bit more of a contagious kind of sucker. So I'm just trying to open it. Oh, good lord. Now, gloves. Right. Now, I see some yellow spots, and I'll show you that. Alright, so speckles, but there's some yellow spots here. There's yellow in the red dye, there's in the cherry, there's blue, and there is, I thought there was some yellow, maybe not. Okay, but I've got the purple, I've got cable ties on this time around, just to help me identify the shanks a little bit more easily. Because when it's just this piece of wool, it's actually quite tricky to spot where it is against the background colour. So this is very much a speckledy kind of affair. I'm not getting transfer, I'm not getting much transfer, there is a bit. So what I did was the dry powder and just trickled it on in the spots. Now my plan for the next part is that I've got water on the stove, and I'm going to do what I call a blush, which is a little bit of the KoolAid. Hi. And that's going to blush all the remaining colour. So I'll chop this off to get in. You may recall me saying that I vacuum seal my dyes just because I can, and it means that I know it's not going to fall out. Now, with yesterday's dye, which is hanging, and you will see later, it's just drying at the moment. It's, from my point of view, it's too heavy a colour. So I don't want to have as much on my spoon as I had yesterday. So what I'm using is a 1mm spoon, and I'm going to try, there's 1 full spoon. I'm going to try and knock it down to about half. I really just want the most subtle of blushes. There was some question yesterday about using pots. I tried one of the other old pots that had been retired, and my husband said, hell no, not that one. So, there's the wool. It goes straight into the pot. This is cold after having a 20-minute steam, and it's now going to go into the pot for the blush dye. So let me grab the pot, show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so this has only got hot water from the tap at the moment. The dye is already in. I'll drop this in, and because of how this dye KoolAid works, you can actually see, maybe, it already starts to soak up the colour dye because of the citric acid. Rebecca was trying to explain how that worked. because of the acids in the KoolAid, you don't need to add anything to the water. So I'm not sure if you can tell, but there is the very slightest of orange blush on that. It will suck it out of the water and it will get attracted to the wool. It will bind to the wool, being the natural fibre, and it will come out of the water effectively. So you get a clean rinse too. So this is going to boil for 20 minutes or so. When it gets up to temperature, I will pack this up because I've got stray bits of dye going everywhere, and I will get some clean wrap if it needs it when I finish. Clean this up. And that's it. I'm done for the cooking, well, for this portion, and I will show it to you when it's finished, and I'll see you soon. Hello again. Alright, they're done. They've had a couple of days drying. Alright, now this is the second experiment that I did. This is one, these purple flecks are from Rit powder, and they're a lot more speckledy than the cherry that I've also speckled. Sorry, my lighting is probably not as rich as I would like because the sun is in the other direction. Then what I did with this one was soak it in the orange. So I'll take some pictures in good lighting so you can probably see how pale it is. It's really pale in comparison to the other. There was quite a stretch on when it was wet. It's bounced back. Both of these hanks are the same length. Now this is the orange speckle. There's some heavy orange, heavy orange speckling through this, and then the cherry just gives this pale pink kind of colour and blush to it. So it's been fun. I put a cable tie on. It's probably a bit too small. It's not giving as much space as these black ones. I will reuse these. There is a trick to getting cable ties off, and I will reuse those. So I will fold them up, roll them back into their hank, and be done, I think. Alright, I might wrap up the video a little bit later.
Alright, now I'm on the couch now. I have rolled up my hank in very unprofessional manner, but it's trying to be back the way it was. Now you can see the purple speckles. This is the orange soak with the cherry and Rit speckles, and behind that then is the other orange with cherry soak. So that's the orange with the cherry soak. You can see some of those orange dots when the camera is a bit less jittery, and I think I'll point them out as well. So you get an idea. The twisting into the hank is not quite so complicated. I haven't practiced much, that's all. And I may have twisted it, you know, sideways rather than, you know, whatever it is. I should probably watch a video on how it twists, but it is what it is. And I've got to figure out now what I'm going to use this for, to see if I can actually get it to showcase as well as it should. And look, they're gorgeous. It was certainly fun to do. It was certainly easy to do. It did take a whole day, in that you've got cooling time and cooking time and soaking time, and all of those times do add up. So it's not exactly a you know, one-hit wonder, as in one thing, you're done. It's little stages, and you know, it's kind of set and forget, and then you come back and then you do it again and that kind of thing. And then I hung it on my pasta rack to let them dry for the couple of days. You could see the difference with the water content from one day to the next, with one having a day kind of lead on the other one, and how much they actually shrunk back up together and you know, lost that water weight. So it can be an interesting process seeing how it retracts up and dries during that drying process. But it's certainly something that I would love to try again, and I would definitely encourage you to try it if you have access to KoolAid. I think you would be crazy not to. You can set it with heat. As I say, steaming, microwave, most people have access to that, or boiling if you just wanted to do one simple colour. And take it from there. So I hope you enjoyed, I suppose, seeing a little bit of how it's done. As I said, Rebecca from ChemKnit's tutorial, the link will be there. She does give much more scientific instruction, and she's got the basis for why she says what she's saying, and everything that you need to have ready in order to do that. And she's got lots and lots of tutorials on her site for dyeing, not just plain wool, but she does other dyeing as well. Alright, I'm going to leave you now. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the process, and I will see you on another of my videos, hopefully, and I hope that you will be back.